Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by the Nyaradzo Group. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Ruramiso Mashumba, a farmer and co-founder of Women Who Farm Africa. Enjoy this inspirational conversation. Ruramiso Mashumba, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you very much, Trevor.
We're delighted that you found the time to join us to talk about something that you're very passionate about, farming. You've been farming, Ruramiso, now for 10 years? 10 years experience farming. Chomwedzi farm in Marondera. Why farming? I mean, I've seen that there's an excitement in the country, particularly with young people taking on to farming. Why did you get into it yourself?
Well, that's an interesting question, Trevor. Actually, when I was growing up, I didn't realize I was going to end up on a farm. But what I knew is that I wanted to help people. So when I was in high school, I just had this passion for helping women and producing food. I actually thought I would end up in an NGO. And fortunately, I went to a school that was very agriculture-based, which is Watershed College. And there we got to learn so much about farming. So I got to really love the land and my father at that time, he just recently bought our farm. So I really loved the land and enjoyed farming. And I remember talking to my mom about wanting to work in food, and then she also encouraged me to take up agriculture because there was a course at school which was training people into agriculture. But I didn't think to myself that as I was making these decisions that it was very male dominated and what the industry would think. You know, my parents were very encouraging of me and they told me that I could do anything. So that's how I started. And then I did my course and then ended up farming.
And talk to me about, so your father has got a farm. Did you inherit the farm? Talk to us about that bit.
So it's a family farm. My father bought the farm about 20 years ago, and he encouraged all of us to take up projects on the farm. But I'm the only one who ended up actually taking up projects. So I do live with my parents on the farm, and I'm farming there. So I'll call it a family farm.
So are you the one farming, or you're helping dad farm? To clarify that for us?
I think I'll say my parents are helping me because I'm the one who's the farmer.
Wow.
I'm the one who's farming and running the projects. I'm fortunate enough that my parents live on the farm, so sometimes when I travel, they can oversee things, but I'm the one who farms and teaches my parents new agriculture skills. Sometimes, it's very difficult to get them to change old ways, but it's interesting.
Did your father farm before you started?
So my father wasn't a commercial farmer, isn't a commercial farmer. My father had a few cattle that he used to keep on the farm. So our farm, when I moved there, was actually run down. Not much was happening in terms of activity. So when I moved back to the farm after my university degree, I was the one who started setting up systems and equipping the farm, putting up equipment and all.
And talk to me about how that started. Setting up equipment. You're farming. You find this farm run down and just decide I'm going to do this. How do you actually do it?
It was very challenging. When I finished my school, I went to the UK to study a bachelor's degree in agriculture, and then I came back enthusiastic, and I thought it would be easy, but it was very difficult because I remember when I moved to the farm, we actually hadn't even built a house yet, so I renovated a chalet that was on the farm, and I decided to live there. And I remember even water access we didn't have water, electricity. There was this tree that was on top of the thatched, because it was a thatched roundhouse, and that used to have these worms that used to get into my house and bite me. So it was very uncomfortable, to be honest, my decision to move to the farm, especially coming from the UK where I'd done my bachelor's degree, and also just trying to acquire equipment. And with farming, if you don't have the correct equipment, it's difficult to farm. So I remember when I was growing snap peas for export, one of my first commercial projects, in the morning we woke up at 4 a.m. and we tried to do our land prep with the hand hoes. It was so difficult, and sometimes you're just trying to hire a tractor in the area, and you find that most people will be busy. You know, people do their land prep first, and then they can hire out their equipment. So it was really challenging. The first few years, very challenging. Just trying to get the finance from the banks, and sometimes you get negative feedback, because they would just say, how old are you? And then I was 25 then, and you're a young woman. You know, certain comments that I think that even men maybe would not have been asked, and just trying to even convince outgrowers to say, people who take outgrowers to say that, I want to grow these crops, and they're like, in doubt, because I guess, the industry is used to mainly a male-dominated industry. So men are what they're only used to. So when a woman comes and starts looking for capital, starts looking for a contract and things like that, it can have people need to change the way they think, because
So you say you had things said to you,
yes,
as you were looking for finances, which would not be ordinarily said to men, such as?
Trevor, when I started, people used to ask me questions I felt that they didn't ask other men, or ask men. Sort of like questions like, I remember when I had an organization come to the farm, and then they were asking me all these questions on sustainable farming. The interview was going well, and then they said to me at the end, what about if you get married? Do you think it will affect your participation on the farm? So I just thought to myself that I wonder if men get asked, such questions.
Wow.
Yes. So I think it's just sort of like a stereotype that people have, like that the ability for women to perform on a farm is different from a man, or to service her loans, or things like that, of which some research actually shows that women they actually pay back loans better than men. So,
well, what other pushback do you come across pertaining to the fact that you are a young woman into farming? What other pushback have you experienced?
Well, I've experienced quite a lot, especially in the beginning. Now I feel that people have seen me farm, and 10 years of farming, they've realized that I'm really serious about this. Some of the pullbacks I remember when I wanted to grow snap peas, and one of the gentlemen in the community saying to me, those crops, they're not for women. Women should grow things that are more simple and easy. And I also got an opportunity to travel a lot, fortunately enough, because I was a member of a farmers organization in Zimbabwe that really, really encourages young people and women. And I went to Seychelles in 2015. And I remember it was a policy meeting on climate change. And something I noticed is that there was only men talking about, it was climate change and women. A topic on how to encourage more women, and how to ensure that we're farming even with climate change. And the conference only had men facilitators, men moderators, men speakers, and they were talking about women. So it's interesting how the world is in terms of viewing women. I think that most people view women's participation is at primary level, as in we're the ones who are working in the pack shed. Because if you go to a lot of big commercial farms, you find the women are the ones who are working, grading the peas or whatever produce they have on the farm, working on the ground, doing the labor-intensive work, but very few are owners of the farm business, are influencing policy, are speaking on panels, even if it affects women. So it's the way farming is, not only in Zimbabwe but internationally. And a lot of people have seen this as a challenge and have wanted to encourage more women to be on these platforms and to share
what does it, sorry to jump in there, what does it do to you when somebody asks you that question towards the end of an interview? Is getting married not going to mess you up? And all this negativity that you experience, what does that do to you?
It makes me realize just how far we are from development. Because I always say, women participation is very important, because if we are looking at, in Zimbabwe, reaching a middle income economy, we're looking at improving the food sector. We need both players. This is the men and the women participating actively in the sector. So it makes me realize how far sometimes we are, even internationally, on achieving those sort of goals, and how people view other people's ability. You know, for me, I'm fortunate because my parents never put any restriction on me, even up to now. They're continuously encouraging me to think bigger, to do more, because, you know, it's important for us, people who are in food, to really take it seriously and look in depth, because we need to ensure that we feed people at an affordable price. We need to ensure that we don't have hungry people, and people we're growing food quality crops. So I think of other women who don't have the same empowerment as I have, and it breaks my heart, because in the rural areas of the women I'm working with, they don't have the same background, where they have parents who probably encourage them like me, and maybe they will shy away from achieving their potential because of the situations around us.
So let's drill down into your farming activity. How big is the farm in the first instance, and what crops are you into? What farming activity are you engaged in at Chomwedze Farm in Marondera? Okay,
so we're on about 400 hectare land. It's a commercial farm. We have trees, 100 hectares of eucalyptus trees. We are growing in partnership with an organization here in Zimbabwe to address challenges of deforestation. In Zimbabwe, we've lost a lot of woodland because of some people, maybe for cooking and curing of our tobacco crop, which is a big export crop in Zimbabwe. So we have lost a lot of woodland. So it's important for us to grow trees to reforestate our country, as well as to provide an alternative for cutting the masasa trees, which are very special and preserved. So we need to provide alternatives for farmers to use when they're curing tobacco. So we have a plantation. It's about 9 years now, 9 years old. And then we're also growing commercial maize. We're doing potatoes, seed potatoes, and commercial potato. I have a small dairy as well there, and we have a solar plant of about 220 panels. So we are really big on making sure that we are sustainable in many ways, by planting trees, using renewable energy as a power source, looking at other methods that we can farm better without damaging our soils. And so those are the main crops we are growing on the farm.
Wow, very impressive stuff. And your staff, the people that you work with?
So we have 15 people that we hire, and 10 are women from the community. So they come every day, and then they work on the farm as well. And we're also supporting other women in the community to come and get trainings as well, and also just share the equipment we have and access to the technology, trainings, as well as markets.
And typically, what time do you get up in the morning? I mean, what time do you get up, and what do you do, and what time do you finally, hit the pillow?
Well, I used to get up very, very early, like 4 or 5, my first days. But now I try to have like a bit of a healthy, balanced life. So I'm up at 7 in the morning. We start work also at 7. So normally the team starts slightly before me, and then I join them about at 8 o'clock.
Okay, yes. That's interesting. So you don't get up 4 a.m. and start working at all?
No, I don't anymore. I used to never sleep.
So the system is now in full force. It's working in a way that you're happy with.
Well, we're always improving our operations, Trevor. It's not like it's a perfect system, but people, we have certain teams and tasks. People know what sort of work to do, so that we reduce the inefficiency of having long meetings in the beginning and just get started with the tasks, and then we throughout the day we can come in but we also finish, most farms we also finish early, so you find that most people would go home at about 3, but I continue, and I'm still on the farm, and I'm also studying and doing other things, so I probably go to bed about 9.
I'm reminded of a story of Dr. Simba Makoni when he started farming. He tells me the story that he would get up around about 7 o'clock, and one day his farmer friend, a white commercial farmer nearby, came in at 4 o'clock in the morning and knocked and said, Simba, this is no longer cabinet office. Get up and farm. But clearly, you get up later than...
It depends really, but I'm also looking at just being a healthy entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I've realized there's certain things that I should also do to keep myself healthy mentally, physically. So like exercising, like at the moment I'm joining a boot camp where I go 5:30, I'm doing some exercises, doing my devotion. So I want to do certain things before I start. So I don't want it to be just work. So as an entrepreneur, to give your best, you also need to be healthy. So, and also trusting people. Over the years, I've traveled a lot. And before it was a challenge in terms of just being away and worry about my projects and all. But I've learned to entrust people. And also when they bring back good deliverables, they're proud of themselves. They don't have to have like someone continuously on their back following them. So we have developed teams of very trustworthy people who have really produced really good results.
What are the biggest problems that you encounter in farming? The biggest challenges that you experience on a daily basis, sort of?
Okay, so I would say that right now we're experiencing climate change. It's really affecting farming. Even if we look at the rains, the shift of the rains are just so unpredictable. That is one of the biggest challenges we have. This past season, the rains, we only had like probably what I would consider effective rains on our farm end of December getting into January, which is not normal. Normally we'd have our effective rains in November. So for planning purposes, it makes it very difficult to plan. And it's also caused an increase in diseases and pests. So one needs to be very aware of this and also look at how can we then farm in a way where we are realizing that the way we farmed 5 years ago is gone. There's now shifts. So I would say those are real challenges that we really need to sit and discuss as farmers. And also even just the changes in the global economy. Like right now, prices of fertilizers keep on going up. Those are real concerns because globally, we're looking at how can food be affordable for all? Because already there are statistics showing that there are lots of people who are hungry. People can't afford food. How do we keep food affordable yet prices are going up? How do we produce enough yields yet not damage our soils, the environment, and also just factor in the changes of the climate? So those are sort of things that we really need to think about as farmers. On a day-to-day, they really affect how we plan.
What about problems as a result of our current economic environment? And any problems at all?
Yeah, there's lots of problems. Even when we're looking at just RTGS, US dollar, it can be very difficult, even just calculating, because sometimes some sort of inputs, you have to buy them in US dollar, but then you have to sell your produce in RTGS. So those ones it's very difficult to manage. And as farmers, we're producing food security crops like maize, for example. So we can't make maize too expensive because everybody needs maize. Most people eat sadza in their house at least once a day. We need maize to produce even our feed for our animals. So those are some real challenges that farmers are continuously discussing, especially with the people in our offices, in agriculture offices. We're always discussing in terms of beginning of the season, what is the price for the farmer going to be this season, because it needs to make sense for the farmer to grow, because it's always agreed upon beginning of the season. If maize is going to cost this amount of RTGS per ton, then that amount should make economic sense when I do take my crops to the market.
And what's the most exciting part of what you're doing? What's the most exciting part of farming?
I think the most exciting part for me is when I see my crops grow, just that early growth. Because when you plant seed or you put something underneath the ground, you're burying it and then you don't know if it's going to come out. So just seeing those first leaves come out of the ground, for me, I find it exciting. I would have thought I would say my harvest, but actually I think it's that initial part when I'm just seeing that growth and I'm realizing it's just a reminder to myself that, everything is going okay.
As Nyaradzo, we strive to continuously bring convenience to our clients. Nyaradzo Group is proud to introduce Sawi, a new virtual chatbot assistant on WhatsApp. With Sawi, you are now able to interact with us from the comfort of your home and can be assisted anytime via WhatsApp with life assurance products, diaspora products, applying and assessing your policy, payment platforms, claims information, and any other queries concerning payments, policy information, or products and services. Simply WhatsApp Sawi on +263 712 992892 or register and start interacting and receiving notifications from Sawi on WhatsApp. Now, join in and experience a new level of convenience 24 hours a day with Sawi.
You're passionate about the role of women in farming, and you are actually the first woman chairperson of the Zimbabwe Farmers Union Youth Wing. Talk to me about this passion that you've got, and what you're doing in that space.
Okay. So when I started farming, one of the things I wanted to do was to find other organizations that can help me grow and network, because I was living in rural Zimbabwe and it was so lonely. And what I did is that I joined, I remember I was looking online for organizations that support young women farmers, and which are not, of course, expensive because I didn't have a lot of money. So I came across the Zimbabwe Farmers Union, which was, I think they were hosting a summit and it was free to go. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. So I went there, got to network with a lot of other young people there. And then that's when I started engaging with them. So at that time, I didn't realize the challenges women faced, and just being a woman, what people would think. So when they came and they were interviewing me on the farm, sharing my story, and then after some time, I was now involved in the union, and I got an opportunity to actually run for elections at province level. And I remember one of the young men there who was running against me says, I can't be beaten by a young girl. So I thought to myself, but why? Like, everyone is just, as you just bring in it's not about your gender. Yes, it's just about who is producing in front of the people the best, sort of like who's the best candidate. So it made me realize then. And then after that, I ran for national chairperson at the national level, and I also won. And then then I realized, just when people would say, you're a woman and stuff, and I would go to lots of conferences. Like I remember I went to this seed conference in Zambia, and I was the only woman there. And even here in Zimbabwe, when I was growing seed, I remember sitting in a room and I was the only woman growing seed. So it made me realize that, women they say that we are a majority in terms of farming, but where are we? We are growing tomatoes, onions, and small horticulture gardens. We don't have access to land. So it made me realize just the barriers. And I felt, because I have had I've had the exposure, I've had the encouragement, I've had so much opportunity, I really should use my role to encourage other women. So I really celebrate other women I see taking up agriculture, being bold enough to speak and to share their stories as well. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, we need both genders in order for us to end the challenges of food insecurity.
And what kind of challenges do you find you have to deal with at the Zimbabwe Farmers Union relating to what you do?
Well, I have to deal with lots of things. Like some of them is just when I'm looking at, we say that women are not involved, but some of them shy away so much. Like I remember, was trying to do some elections for young farmers and asking the women to run, and they'll be like, I just want to be secretary. So I think even just changing the way people think, it's a real challenge. Because, when you've been brought up in a certain society or been taught certain things, to change the way you think is really difficult, or to change the way you view other people, it's very difficult. But I always say, like when I'm sharing in a room, like, there's so many breakthroughs that women have done. Like before, if we if we talk decades of years ago, women were not allowed to maybe practice medicine, they weren't allowed to vote. But now if you look at how many people's lives have been saved because of other women, when we look at the breakthroughs in technology that women have done, of course men have also done, but both genders, again, we need both to be able to end pressing challenges. So I always share those things with other women. So I would say that a challenge really is just to get people to not think lowly of themselves, but to be encouraged enough to actually get involved, participate, and also just to share with the men. Because, sometimes men, it depends on how maybe you share, may not really understand like the plight. Because some people say that should men and women have the same, should they run on the same ground? But some people say that no, but women are already not as empowered, so maybe you should give them like a few steps ahead. Then some people don't agree with that. So it's a continuous sharing of story. So with Women Who Farm, for example, we do a lot of social media of sharing stories of women. We share stories of women all over Africa and to other women as well. So you find that we create a network, a platform for women to hear other women's stories. So a woman is sharing, I have this honey project. Now I'm not just growing honey and selling it in my community, but now I can export. I'm exporting. I'm on an export committee and I'm discussing about export. So you're encouraging. So when women see other women, they feel encouraged.
Absolutely.
Because they might just feel like, okay, I'm in my small rural village in Tanzania. This is how it's everywhere in Africa. You're like, no.
There's more of us. And when somebody like you is modeling
Yes.
the successful farmer that you are, it inspires some young lady, a girl at school to say, look, she looks like me.
Exactly.
What can stop me from becoming like her?
And sharing those stories of rural areas. Also, sometimes there's also a lot of bringing awareness of the battles that women face in these rural areas. Yes.
So you've taken the passion for women involvement in farming to a continental level, and I would say to an international level. You've co-founded Women Who Farm Africa and Nandi Africa. Tell me about the motivation for doing that and what these two organizations do.
Okay. So as I was farming and minding my own business, I actually didn't think that I would ever be on a platform like this, because I think growing up I was very shy and I just didn't want to be interviewed or to talk on a big platform. But anyway, in 2016, I had been farming, I had been working and speaking. I had been also the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Farmers Union, going on different platforms, talking about my personal story. I was then, I got an opportunity to attend a fellowship called the Mandela Washington Fellowship in the United States and learn a lot about servant leadership from Barrack Obama. And, I'd always thought to myself, I've got so much on my plate. I don't have time to solve some of the challenges in my community. Then I remember the last day at the presidential summit, something Barrack Obama said to me that I found very profound was like, here in the US, we can only but watch things that happen in other countries when there's food challenges or whatever. But we can only advise. It's only up to the people in their communities because they know the real challenges that they face themselves to come up with their own solutions. And I realized that so long I'd been saying, the challenges that I face, like in my community, there was lots of domestic violence, there's women can't come to work, all sorts of challenges. I just said, someone from the city, someone from Harare should come. I'm so busy farming my crops to solve that. And then it made me realize when I came back, and I also didn't have any money to start my organization. I just said, I'm starting small. So we started by, I was thinking, how do I train women in my community? I was like, women can just walk. The trainings. What we can do is I reached out to some stakeholders who would help us with the training. They would come and train the women on the farm. Then I would get other organizations that would come and say, okay, we can take on these farmers as our outgrowers. So that's how we grew slowly. So that's what we did with Nandi Africa, which now we are working with rural women to support them to grow no-till crops, and we're training as well. And then in 2019, I then got an opportunity to go again back to the United States for another fellowship at the University of Cornell. And I met other two ladies. One is based in Zambia and the other one is based in Ghana. And we were working on a project on women. and realized, you know what, we can actually form an organization, Women Who Farm. Because I was doing what I was doing in Zimbabwe with Munandi, and they were like, we also want to do that in Zambia and Ghana. What can we do? So we started our organization called Women Who Farm, and our model is very similar, only that we've created a curriculum for women farmers. And last year we launched and we did growing maize with farmers. We contacted stakeholders in Zimbabwe. We supported the women how to grow maize. Afterwards, they graduated, we gave them manuals. This year, we've got a project that's running in Zambia where we are encouraging women to grow fortified sweet potato, which is a sweet potato variety which has been added more vitamin A and zinc and iron to improve the nutrition of that community. And we managed to get some people who are working with us who have helped us find vines to give the farmers in Zambia. So we are looking at growing big and solving the challenges in different ways in different communities according to their needs.
I'm listening to you and I'm absolutely inspired and in
Thank
awe
you.
of what you're doing. Talk to me about the inspiration of meeting Barrack Obama, who is my hero. And he says that kind of stuff to you, and you going in these circles, in these spaces. How much inspiration has that given you?
It's been great, really, really a lot of inspiration because Barack Obama, he's a hero for many of us because he was the first Black American president. Some people would never thought that there would ever be a Black American president, especially looking at the history of America. So to me, Barack Obama, he speaks a lot about change. Things the way they are, they don't always have to be like they are. And it gives me hope because sometimes we can see certain things and we feel frustrated and anxious. But change can happen. So that's something that Barack Obama spoke to me. And I understood that my change is my community, is helping women be able to produce more food, being able to see empowered women, being able to see communities where, because, sometimes I remember I used to have conversations with women in my community and you'd hear things like, their children are not going to school. People in the rural areas, they have lots of children. By 30, sometimes can have 5, 6 children. And then they can't even pay $10 for the tuition fees because they don't have the money. And it's really heartbreaking. And sometimes I'll see girls, like a young girl, I'll just walk in the rural areas, then I'll see a girl cooking like by the fire with a little baby on her back, and I'm like, aren't you at school? She says, I can't go to school because my mom is working, she's doing some piece jobs. I'm the one who's taking care of my little brother or little sister, which means that her education is jeopardized. So there's so many things that you'd see and they would really break your heart. I would see so many people who are, old enough to be in high school who can't read or write. I'm like, this is not correct. People should get education. People should have the ability to contribute to our economy. And who are their heroes? Because in my community now, as a woman, people celebrate me and they see me as a role model. I remember when I used to ask the children there, who are your role models? They would say, some gentleman who's selling illegal diesel because he's got now a car. So it meant that the role models were really lacking. So we need more role models in our rural areas.
As I'm listening to you now and watching you talk, I go back to you're saying, I used to be a shy person. I never wanted to talk. What's happened to this quiet 35-year-old girl, lady rather?
Honestly, I think I would say I'm shy. But I'm an introvert. Okay, well, I won't say I'm shy. I'll say I'm an introvert. My natural personality is an introvert. But we all have to speak sometimes. We can't be quiet, yet we have work to do. So I probably don't talk a lot in all conversations, but what I'm passionate about in terms of women empowerment, in terms of sustainable agriculture, in terms of food security, I think I share my...
You go on and on.
I go on and on.
Okay. The other thing that you're passionate about is farm mechanization. It's something that might be taken for granted elsewhere in the world, but in an environment such as ours and in Africa, it's a big thing. Talk to me about the importance of farm mechanization and any progress that you're making in that space.
So, Trevor, without machinery, you're unable to farm on a large piece of land or farm effectively. What I mean by that is, sometimes you want to achieve a certain depth, but you can't do it with a hand hoe. And actually, a lot of people have actually said that the hand hoe belongs in the museum we're breaking our backs, just digging, damaging the soil, and not really achieving results. It's important for us to actually use the correct machinery for us to farm. So earlier on, I've been big on the use of traditional machinery, but now I moved to the need for us to actually adapt conservation agriculture equipment. So this is equipment that doesn't damage the soil structure of our soils, because a lot of the times we're digging our soils, we're turning around soils, and as a result, a lot of our topsoil is being washed away into the ocean. We're losing topsoil every year, millions and millions of tons of topsoil because of traditional methods of farming. We are losing organic matter because we're not putting it back. So I'm big on understanding what sort of machinery we need in Zimbabwe, and actually looking at how can we adapt, and encouraging other farmers as well, and doing it at a cooperative level, like us getting machinery as Mnandi for the women in our community, so that people can start using the correct equipment so that they can improve the soil structure and increase their yields in the long run.
And what equipment are we talking about?
So there are no-till, for example, there are no-till planters which are available, which very few farmers in Zimbabwe use, but there are some farmers who have adapted. When you're planting, you're just using a no-till planter, which
No-till.
No-till. So till means turning soil.
Yeah.
So you're not turning the soil, you're just planting. You're leaving the soil as it is. You're not moving the soil. And by doing that, you're protecting the soil. So that topsoil that will be blown by wind is not being blown. And also you're conserving moisture. So like when I mentioned like climate change, it's going to be a topic that we're continuously going to be talking about year in, year out. How do we then ensure that we're not using a lot of water through evaporation? So that's some of the equipment in as well.
So no-till plows, anything else?
No-till plants. Also using solar. How can we use more renewable? We've got so much sunshine.
Yeah.
When you travel to other countries, you realize how much sunshine they don't have.
Yeah.
So we've got so much sunshine. How can we start using the sun harnessing the sun so that we're able to power our equipment? So we are powering irrigation on our farm with solar, and it's also a reliable source. You don't have to have any blackouts because of the power is not there. So just working on that.
So Ruramiso, you've traveled the world. You've met Barrack Obama. You've been inspired by Barrack Obama. But I want us to go back to, where was Ruramiso born? Where did you start off life?
Okay. So I was born in Harare. And my parents moved when I was 6 years to Glendale. Small growth point, and then we were there until I think I went to university. When I came back from university.
Which university did you go to?
Oh, okay. So I went to Hartbury in the United Kingdom, and then from when I came back, I moved to the farm in Marondera. So I've been.
Before you went to Hartbury, which schools did you attend in Zimbabwe?
Okay, so I went to so many schools. I went to so many schools. In primary school, I went to Borodo Primary School. Then I went to Sinoya Primary School. Then I went to Amandus Primary School. So my parents moved me a lot. But funny enough, I'm the only one who has moved a lot. My siblings all went to the same schools.
How many siblings do you have?
We have 5.
5.
So my parents wanted me to go to Chizi, where we lived. We lived in Chizipiti. But when they went to apply for me those days, they said, oh, I think it was 5 years, and they said, oh, she's late. My sister had just been born, and then she got in. So all my other siblings went to the same school, one school. And then high school, I then went to Watershed College. So I have been to a few schools.
Watershed, from Watershed, you then went to UK.
Yes.
University. What did you study? Your first degree at university?
I did a bachelor's degree in agriculture business management.
So you were already. How did you decide? How did you arrive at that decision that I want to do agriculture?
Okay, so I think it was formed at Watershed, because when I was at Watershed, that was a school that taught agriculture at high school level, and of which not, when I look at my siblings, none of them studied agriculture at school. So I remember I was so, like I mentioned, I was such a shy child at school, and I used to find just refuge going to the fields with the teachers there and learning about crops. I used to just find so much peace. And at Watershed, they also used to offer like when you finish a diploma in agriculture. And I remember talking to my parents and saying, should I do it? And they were saying, you know what? You just take it as a life skill. Do it and see if you like it. So now I was at Watershed doing my agriculture, and I was really excelling. I was in the top 5 in my class, and really, really enjoying it. And then also now at Watershed, there was a principal of Hartbury. He came to my to the school, and he was Hartbury in the UK, and he came to recruit students from Watershed because for some years Watershed had this good relationship with Hartbury. So I remember I was like, I've always wanted to study abroad, and it was subsidized school fees, and I knew that if I can find somewhere subsidized, because my parents had lots of children going to private school, it would really be of help. So I got an opportunity to then go to Hartbury, and at that time I wasn't sure like what I wanted to do. So I decided to do something safe. So I said, let me do agriculture and business management, because at least if I don't like agriculture, I can fall back on the business management. So that was my decision. But I wasn't like, remember trying to think, I was like, should I do landscaping? But I couldn't find the landscaping at a degree level. It was only like a diploma. I didn't want to do a diploma.
When you look back now, any regrets? You were
no
shy?
Regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets going to Watershed. No regrets going to Hartbury. No regrets going to the United Kingdom. I feel like, yes, like lots of people tell me that their lives, they've changed, they've made like different turns. I feel like if there's something that is certain in my life is the farming. Even from when I was 14, I always had this feeling that I wanted to work in food. And over the years, of course, like people say, did you have a 10-year plan that ended up you here? No. I think that with different things that you face every day, you make different decisions which have ended me here. And I'm really grateful, because I feel like my life is not for myself, it's for other people. And so I'm enjoying that.
Wow. And you're currently studying for an MBA.
Yes.
Talk to us about that and the decision to do an MBA whilst you're farming.
Yes. I've always wanted to do this MBA. I remember when I was looking around for a master's to do for some years now. And I wanted to do an MBA in something to do with agriculture. So I was thinking, should I do a master's in agriculture? Then I saw this video on the MBA I'm doing. So it's an MBA in innovative, sustainable food and agriculture. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I meant to do. So it took me some years to save money so that I can do it. But I'm really enjoying it because it's relevant to things of today. We are talking about sustainable agriculture systems. We're talking about interesting debates that are international in terms of decisions that policymakers should make. So it makes you really realize, and you spend so much time looking at different scenarios of different countries, because Europe is very big on sustainable farming, but they've gone like the route where they're paying farmers not to farm too much, because after the World War, farmers started producing too much food, and that there was a surplus and food was being lost, but at the expense of the soils, the environment. So they're now trying to go backwards, where they are now paying farmers subsidies to stop farming so much and to actually take care of the hedges and the soils and the climate and the water. So you see, like here in Zimbabwe, we're not looking at it. Maybe we haven't farmed so intensively yet, but let's farm intensively, but ensure that we're not going to pollute our water bodies. We're not going to damage our soil. So it's very interesting. And I'm the only one who's from Africa in my class. So it's interesting when I bring in my perspective. Like people will be like, yeah, this is the way farming should go. And then you bring in your perspective from another part of the world. It makes it very interesting.
Well, what's the big thing for you? I mean, 10 years experience in farming, you've done quite a lot. You've gotten a number of awards. We'll get to talk about that. As you sit here with these 10 years behind you, under your belt, what's the thing that you want to do when you get to your MBA 2023 and beyond?
Really, it's to push sustainable farming.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. I've always wanted to research on some of these methods, but I just haven't had time. Like my life has just been so busy. Even with the MBA, it's busy, but it forces you, because of course I have to study and research and collect data. So what I want to do after I finish is to really ensure that as an organization, we're using sustainable farming methods, and also influence other people in various commercial farms to also start adapting sustainable methods. So I also want to learn. So I think right now I'm sitting at a place of just learning and listening and understanding also getting advice from other people, and then before I can apply anything.
So you're sitting on 400 hectares, eh? That's what you're farming on. Do you want more land, or this is enough land?
People have asked me a lot. I'm not necessarily looking for land myself, but I want access for women who I'm working with to get land, so that they can also grow their projects. So my vision really is to support the women in the area, in the community. I want to support more women, being able to support thousands of women farmers, scale up their projects. So it's not necessarily in terms of what can you produce with a lot of land, but how can you produce with the little land you have, but with the maximum production, and not with little waste. Because we waste a lot of food. Statistics show from the FAO that 30% of the food we grow is wasted due to post-harvest losses. So how can we then reduce some of that loss and actually put it onto the plate of people?
As Nyaradzo, we strive to continuously bring convenience to our clients. Nyaradzo Group is proud to introduce Sawi, a new virtual chatbot assistant on WhatsApp. With Sawi, you are now able to interact with us from the comfort of your home and can be assisted anytime via WhatsApp. With life assurance products, diaspora products, applying and assessing your policy, payment platforms, claims information, and any other queries concerning payments, policy information, or products and services. Simply WhatsApp Sawi on +263 712 992892 or register and start interacting and receiving notifications from Sawi on WhatsApp. Now, join in and experience a new level of convenience 24 hours a day with Sawi.
I'm looking at this lady sitting in front of me here and trying to imagine you on the farm and what you look like. I mean, we're gonna play footage and share pictures of you doing the real work on the farm. What do you say, Ruramiso, to young women all across the continent who follow this show on a weekly basis, who are watching you right now, or saying this shy lady, she was a shy lady, she's now 35 years old, she's been farming for quite some time, we think farming is tough, but you are proving that women can be successful in farming, and you're taking farming all across the continent. What words of encouragement do you have for our viewers watching you? Some shy women, shy girls were sitting and looking at you and saying, wow, she's amazing. What do you have to say to them?
Well, for starters, I would want to encourage those who are farming already, because I know like you might face many challenges, especially starting and looking for markets. But there are other women who have also farmed maybe a few years before you and have also experienced those challenges and maybe also experiencing. But together, we can bring change. And I would also just want to encourage and remind the viewers that we need to produce food to feed people. Every single day, people need to eat. And we are the food producers. Don't be discouraged. Let's keep improving. Let's keep innovating. Let's keep feeding people.
Fantastic. Don't be discouraged. Are there instances where you've gotten up and saying, oh no, this is too much. I can't do this?
Many times.
Share with us what would have happened.
I think I've had many seasons of farming can be challenging. You can have a failed crop or reduced yields. It happens. And at that time, you can really feel discouraged. Like I remember, even when I first started, I grew some potatoes, and the potatoes just were not producing any flowers. And later on, did I find out that the potatoes, the variety, in fact, the seed was not a quality seed. So you learn, and you can also advise others. So sometimes when you see your crop is not producing like you hope, it's very, very discouraging, and you can feel so demotivated.
You break down.
Yes, you
tears,
can break down. And it costs a lot.
Yeah.
And with farming, we don't get paid every day like some jobs. Or every month. We get paid like at the end of the season. So imagine like you've put on all your money, you've got everything into the ground, and then nothing grows. It's just devastating. So yeah.
How do you encourage yourself from that devastation?
So now I've learned certain things. One is insurance. insure your crops, insure your equipment, because again, another challenge I faced is theft. 2 years ago.
So you insure against theft too?
I've insured my equipment, yes, because like we've got like equipment like center pivots and things. Parts can be stolen at night, and those things can cost you like $20,000 US, and you don't have that much money in your bank. You can be really depressed. But I've learned to insure, so I pay my insurance every year, and it gives you just the peace of mind to say if something does happen, like climate, you can have hail or whatever, you are able to at least recoup something. And insurance companies do pay very well when you claim. So yes, I even had like I started a dairy project, and I had lost two of my dairy cows. It was very painful. Those dairy cows cost a lot, and I really loved them. I thought I was taking best care of them, but at least I had insurance. So I would encourage people to say, with farming, you need insurance. You also need to find other people that you can learn from, and get mentors as well.
But you can't insure yourself against the pain of discouragement.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't insure yourself against seeing those beautiful dairy cows of yours dead in the morning.
Yes.
Where do you go to strengthen yourself?
For me, I think I've got quite a few support systems. One is a personal relationship with God, just having that relationship. Also having a very strong family. My family, they are, I think I would never be anywhere. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my family. So you need to have people who speak positive words. This world, this life we live, we face many challenges as people, as humans. We face disappointments, we face negative words. There's so many things that we are continuously faced with. So we need to surround ourselves with people who lift us up when we're down, who encourage us, won't laugh at us, or look at you won an award and now this happened, your heifers died. People who yeah, exactly. There are people who speak down on you, but you need to surround yourself with people who lift you up.
Talk to me about that family. What are we talking about? Is it mom, dad? You've got kids. Break it down for us.
So this is my
structure.
So I do not have children, but this is my parents, my siblings. They are my support structure. I've got the best parents, the best siblings. They, even when I remember when I was starting, they used to encourage me. I went through really, really rough time starting. I remember I had no money for so long, and my sister would give me money to buy food or whatever. So that is the support structure. I mean, like, you need people who will be with you when things are hardest. Yeah.
You've won a number of awards. The Kleckner Award from the Global Farmer Network in 2021, and you've also been put on a list of most influential Zimbabweans under the age of 40. What do these awards mean to you, and what other awards have you gotten?
Okay. So I've gotten quite a few awards. My first award was, and they've always been for influence, and my first award was by ACO. It was for influence and leading women towards mechanization in Africa. Then after that, I won the Kleckner Award as well, which recognized my work as a woman farmer, being a voice. Because I remember when I got the award, one of the things they said was that, we need more voices speaking for smallholder farmers, for women, for marginalized. Many times we hear voices of maybe big commercial farmers. So I won that as well. I also won the 40 under 40. I was super surprised because I thought there's so many influential people below 40 in Zimbabwe. So it was really encouraging. For me, these awards, they're just a reminder that as much as I'm going through sometimes hard times and challenges, that there are some people who are just cheering me on and celebrating me. So it's very encouraging.
For me, it's the beauty of life, the beauty about life. That as you go on doing what you're passionate about, you are not aware that some people are watching you, but they're watching you and they're cheering you on and they're wishing you the best. So wonderful stuff that's happening there. I mean, looking at you again, and you found a way of coping with the hard work on the farm. You run marathons, you do triathlons, you're trying to do golf, violin and swimming. A pretty busy social life. Talk to me about that.
Like I mentioned, it's important to take care of your mental health. Mental health is very important in your body. Have good relationships. You know, when I started, I remember I was just in rural Zimbabwe. I never used to do anything. I used to, on Christmas Day, I'll be selling maize, my green millies. I was just always so focused on the farm. And I realized that I wasn't, to be the most effective person, I need to ensure that I am a whole person all across. I haven't really achieved it yet, but it's a work in progress. So, and I also am naturally, if I set a goal, I try hard to push for it. So that's why I decided to run. I've never been a runner, but I said to myself, you know what? I want to be healthy. Let me do a marathon. So I ran the Victoria Falls Marathon. I've run 2 oceans.
2 oceans?
2 oceans, well, the half marathon.
Wow.
It was very, at the end, you just feel this thing that, I've done it. And it's also something about training your mind, like a mental strength. Also learning the violin. So it's something that I've always wanted to play an instrument. So learning to worship with an instrument that I find interesting.
How is that going?
It's interesting. I'm still learning. I'm not yet confident to play in public.
You know why I ask? When I turned 40, my wife bought me a guitar.
Oh, nice.
I've had lessons with 2 people. I've given up. I don't think there's a bit of me that's musically inclined.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying learning to play the violin?
I am. It's even like golf. It's a skill that you have to train your mind because you're not used to holding the violin in a certain way, even the posture, or playing golf. You're not used to the posture. But it's, when you're continuously doing something, you start getting it. And there's that feeling of excitement.
I've given up with the guitar. I've tried a number of times. I've given up.
Okay.
I think it's one thing that I've genuinely failed at. What have you failed at?
Many things.
Share with us 1 or 2 things.
What have I failed at? I failed at a lot of things. I'm not very good at maths. Okay. Although
you're an achiever. You're taking time to think about.
I'm trying to think what I failed at because, to be honest with you, I don't give up.
Yeah.
I don't give up.
You're disciplined. You're focused.
To be honest, I even got a distinction. I'm not good at maths, but I've got a distinction in managing finance.
Wow, that's great.
So I feel like, yes, I fail, but I don't give up as a person. I think it's just the family I've been brought up with. Yeah. So many things I fail at, but I get up and I try again until I get it. That's why I like difficult hobbies.
you Ruramiso, you are an inspiration to me.
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure you're going to inspire quite a lot of people out there all over the world. We're going to discuss books now. The people that watch this show every week love books. Talk to me about the books that you've read that have inspired you, that you'd want to recommend to our book-loving audience.
Oh, okay. So I want to share my sustainable agriculture books because I read all the time.
Those are technical stuff.
Those are technical stuff. Yeah, but I've read, I've got this lady I follow a lot called Imelda Tsumba. She writes about different books on how to deal with the unexpected. So those are some of that. So she's got quite a collection. I think I've read most of her books.
Which one in particular would you recommend?
I would say mental health. She has one on mental health. And I think it's very important because it's not exactly like the title, but it talks to you about her. She shares a lot about her day to day. So I feel like she's really a role model to me. And I attended her last book launch. She speaks a lot on you as a person, because I feel like as an entrepreneur, a lot of the times we are programmed to just think of business, like being on the 6 a.m. club, all these things, but never about the inner soul. So I feel like she touches a lot about the inner self and taking care of yourself, which is something I'm working hard on achieving. Yeah.
Any other books?
I'm also reading another one. This is a strategy book. That maybe those people who are interested in.
Which one is that one?
It's about planning for the future, and so it also goes a lot of. It looks a lot in depth on the future for tomorrow, because a lot of the times when we're looking at today, most of us we just plan thinking that the future won't change. Just like if you think of phones, some years ago they never thought that there'll be how big digital technology will be. So I think that's another book I'll recommend. It's on, I think it's Tom Hamlin.
Okay.
He also talks about a lot of that on strategy, even strategy for your own life. It's important to have a strategy.
One thing that I can I identify with you is the importance of investing in ourselves and growing as individuals for us to be fully impactful in circumstances that are around us. So I really identify with that and wish you all the best as far as that Jen is concerned. What's your biggest dream right now? I know you want to feed all of us. What's your biggest dream that's spanning that you want to be pursuing?
I think just to make sure that I live as a whole person. To me, that's a big dream. I really want to ensure that I'm taking care of my mental health, my spiritual health, my relationships, everything. I just want to be a whole person. So that's my biggest dream. Fantastic. To really build on that.
Wow, thank you, Ruramiso. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and lots of food for thought there coming from you. Your life is very inspirational, and I like the focus on wholeness, living a rounded life, focusing on yourself and your relationships. And we wish you all the very best with your farming, 400 hectares at the moment, and maybe more, and your impact on the young women on the continent. So thank you so much for coming onto the show. Thank you. Allow me now to turn on to our viewers, Ruramiso, who are all over the world, who've made this show the success that it has become. Thank you for watching us. Remember that we are a weekly show. We are out every Monday on YouTube at 7 a.m. Central African Time. To ensure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations, such as the conversation I've just had now with Ruramiso, I invite you to click on this red button here and subscribe. If and when you subscribe, you will receive a notification when we have one of these quality conversations. We've gone a step further and created podcasts on a number of platforms for your listening pleasure. If you do scroll down below this video, you'll find a link. Click to that podcast link for your listening pleasure. Until next time, thanks for watching, and cheers to you all.